What's up, guys? So today I want to show you how to polish your guitar's frets and everything you're going to need to do that yourself. But first off, why would you want to polish your guitar's frets? To put it simply, having a polished fret makes it play a lot smoother. Because over time, with lots of play, your guitar's frets become corroded, it gets scratches on them, and just plain dirt makes them feel gritty when you're doing bends. So having a polished fret makes it play much smoother. So this is everything you're going to need. First off, masking tape. This is just to cover up and protect your fretboard during the process. Next, you can get one of two things. Either a set of micro mesh pads, which they sell at StewMac, and I'm sure you can find them other places too, but these are toast. Or if you don't want to order anything online, you can just go get plain sandpaper. I'd recommend starting out with 1,000 grit and working your way up as high as possible. I've got 1,000, 1,500, and 2,500. You could probably go a little bit higher than that, but for my uses, it works fine. The next thing is polishing compound. This is part of the reason why I can stop at 2,500, because this takes care of the rest of it for me. You can use guitar polish, car polish. This is from StewMac, and really any of it will work. It doesn't matter what it's specifically used for. You can apply it with either a buffing wheel and a drill, or just a rag and some elbow grease. The last thing, just a razor blade, and this is to work with the masking tape. Just be sure not to cut your guitar. Alright, so first you want to put on your masking tape, and you want to put on the pieces a little bit wider than the fretboard so you can roll it over the edges like this. Alright, here's a quick tip to be cheap and save some masking tape, as if it's very expensive. Eventually you'll come to a point where you'll have to start cutting the tape. That's where the razor blade comes in. Lay it down, crease it in. You'll see the overlay on the fret there. Just take your razor blade, come in at an angle towards the fret. Don't use a lot of pressure, and just give it a little swipe. Whenever I come down to this area, I give a little flick like this just to get the tape without hitting the fretboard. Then you can peel it off. These little pieces that you end up with, you can lay them in your area. Obviously there you don't have much, but as you get down the fretboard, you get larger pieces so you can start covering up and not have to use so much tape. You can reuse it. And here's a tip to save you some time. Once you get it up onto these higher frets, lay several pieces in a row before you start cutting it. That will save you a lot of time. Just get them all laid up like this. I prefer to have them sticking this way as the excess, and you can just come through and cut the pieces off, then use the excess pieces here to cover up where you don't have coverage. And when you get to this end of the fretboard, you'll notice that here, if you're using your razor blade, you can be cutting your finish. So for one, be careful. For two, just lay some masking tape there to protect your finish. You're going to need that anyways for when we start sanding. Also, cover your pickup hole pieces, because when you're sanding on the fretboard, the frets, the pickups can catch any little metal shavings, and you don't want that stuck to your magnets. So be sure to cover those up. Alright, so now we're starting the sanding. I'm using sandpaper as stated before because my micro meshes wore out. Got the 1,000 grit. I'm just tearing off a small strip. Got about that long. It's not very long, but so you want to come in and you want to sand with the direction of the fret, not this ways. This ways. Because if you think about it, when you're playing, you're going to be bending and doing vibrato this direction. So you'll feel any grit if there's scratches going this way in your frets. You'll just want to come in, get the top, get the sides, and it's going to make it a matte finish, and it'll look worse than before. But don't be scared. That'll get taken care of as we move along in the process. And I got the tops there. Now I want to come in and get the sides of it, and kind of got to crease the paper and really get in there. Obviously, as you can see, I'm not left-handed, but I was blocking the view of the camera. Alright, so you'd obviously just start making your way up the frets, replacing your sandpaper as needed, and then you start on your next grit up, do it again, next grit up, do it again, till you reach the highest one you're going to go to. Then you'll start the polishing, which I'll show in the next clip. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to do this one fret so you can see the difference between the rest of them and this one. I'll change the camera angle so you can see it a little better. Alright, so to use a polishing compound, if you're not using a drill and a buffer, just get yourself an old beat up rag, because it is going to ruin the rag. But grab your polishing compound, shake it up, get a little dollop of it, and I like to actually just put it on the fret. Just a itty bitty tiny amount. Obviously you can squirt a little bit more if you're doing them all at the same time and just rub it in. I just like to put a little bit on the fret there. Rub the excess onto the towel. And you just work it back and forth. Really nothing to it. Just be sure you go in this direction. Alright, so I finished up with the sanding and polishing of the first fret, and you can see the difference between it and the other unpolished and sanded frets. Much shinier, and that's going to result in the guitar playing much smoother when you're doing bending and vibrato. So a little piece of advice: take your time, be patient, and do it the right way, because you're going to have to get the guitar into certain positions to keep your arms from getting tired and to get into some of the nooks and crannies between the frets. Another thing is, when you first start on the grit of sandpaper, it's going to look dull. Don't freak out. You'll think you've went backwards, but it's necessary. What you're doing is removing all the scratches and getting the metal down to a smooth, level surface, so then you can polish it correctly. So I hope y'all learned something today, and be sure to check out my other videos. See you later.